Shalom. Pastor Hawk coming back at you with this truth, giving all praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua B'Shem Kakwadash. And I'm going to entitle this video, Response After Camp Edification, GMS Boston. And this was put up by re-up by Remnant Say 144 out of Dallas. I don't know if he makes I don't know if this is Yashawan, but they put it up, Elder Yashawan, but I don't know if he makes a commentary, he just puts it up raw. I believe it's just raw because it goes right into it. Anyway, what led me to this video was a video that I was watching about 10 minutes ago, put up by Apostle Gabar, dealing with the same video. And he said some things, you know, he let some of it play and he, you know, gave commentary on it. So what I'm going to do is, and I was going to put together a video dealing with the Gentiles. I was going to go into the word Gentile and go mainly into the New Testament and pick out the word Gentile. And it's, let me see something, bear with me for a minute. I don't know if I went over it. Let me see. Okay, I did. Let me pull this up. If you come back again. Okay, this is, I typed in the word Gentile, and the word Gentile occurs 129 times in 121 verses in the King James. Okay, so you got from Genesis, you got over 100 verses, well over 100 verses. Now, to understand, and we're going to get back into this video, to understand and you know what, I was going to entitle it something else. I'm going to add a title to the same video. I'm going to entitle it, the Edomites are getting scared, or the E's are getting scared, because the people that mainly come up and question us, challenge us, whatever the case may be, are usually Edomites. No, East Indians don't come up and, no, hey, they have to let them open up the scripture. And Chinese don't do it. It's really Edomites. And these simple-minded bird-brained Negroes that follow these Edomites. You know, they got that Edomite form of Christianity. I call it, you know, when Esau came over here, he brought with him his form of Christianity, which we call it Renaissance Christianity. And part of that is based upon white supremacy, because one of the main things that they did when they you know, began to take over or retake the Europe starting out of Spain and those surrounding areas in so-called Europe, there were images in the form of icons, mosaics, frescoes, but I'm mainly focusing on the icons. That what they did was they did a thing called iconoclasm, which is the defacing of an image. Really, it goes back to the defacing of a religious image, spiritual, righteous image. But iconoclasm, icon means an icon, you know? You know, it's a symbol. It's a symbol that represents a thing. So what they did was, in the case of the icons, the images of the saints of the Most High, which include the Most High, the Lord, our Lord, the disciples, the prophets, the saints, you know, Mary and the child, they were all clearly so-called Black images. Now, there were so many of them put up There were so many, matter of fact, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Let me do it this way. Russian icons. I didn't put black Russian icons. I put Russian icons. Let me go to images. Ooh, ooh. Look at this right here. Saint Berkita. You can clearly see that that's a so-called a black, not black, but a woman. My fourth icon by Thomas, but Orthodox icon. Again, I'm stunned by the wonderful quality of his sacred art. I want to find out what time period this guy was living in. I can't believe that I have the privilege of having so lovely a work on my wall. So I don't want to go all into it, but by Thomas from, let me try this. Bear with me for a minute. Bear with me for a minute. Trying to track down this guy, Thomas. Okay, it doesn't give me anything, but let me just come back over here. But you can clearly see that that's a black woman, so-called black woman. And it's over $400. Hand-painted Byzantine icon of Saint Bekita, 22 karat gold leaf. You know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Saint I'll come back over here. Okay, this is more current. This is okay, Saint Josephine Bekita. All right, so she wasn't from that time period. So let's come back. Okay, antique Russian icon. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay, you can see that they're all black people. The angels are black. And this is what Esau did with his reform or his brand of Christianity to, let me do this. Let me come back over here and let me put in black Russian icons. Black Russian icons. And I guess this is supposed to be Saint George the Dragon Slayer. You can see he's a so-called black man. You got various images of Mary and the child, Madonna and the child. You can see the child has the so-called baby Jesus has an afro. See the skin color and all that. So that, now I can go. Let me come back. You know what? Let me get a couple more. Icon, Russian icon with silver oak lead of Christ with Bartolome fine art. And you can see this is a so-called black man. So when you so-called white people came over here to the Americas, well, it started in Europe, and then it came over to the Americas, starting from the late 13 into the early and mid, into the late 1400s. That's when you so-called white people started getting back into control, fulfilling Revelation chapter 20. Okay, now where is this? Where is this at? Boy, let me see. And you know what I got to do? Let me go back. And a video just popped up. GMS Vegas sit down 144K. The prudent foreseeth the evil, more strategic moves against the dollar, Babylon losing dominance. Yeah, if you've been watching the news, now you got to think with a global, in a global mindset. But anyway, where in the hell is it? Let me do it this way. Bear me for a minute. Okay, here we are. I'm just going to let you listen.
But he did not say a word in answer to her. Send her away because she keeps shouting at us. He answered it. Slow down, bro. Slow down. Got the fast flow going, guys. I was commissioned by God and sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay? You gotta read that slow. So we need you to break it down so we can understand what your point is. Right. So break it down. Well, I'm getting to my point, bro. That's later. Okay. I understand what's right here. Based off what you're doing. But she came and began to kneel down before him, saying, Lord, help me. Right. And he replied, it is not good, appropriate, fair to take the children's bread and throw it to the pet dogs. He said, yes, Lord. But even the pet dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered, woman, your faith is great. It will be done as you wish. And her daughter was healed from that moment. Now, I understand where you guys are coming from, right? But her faith made her well in Jesus Christ. So how come our faith in Jesus Christ can also... She was an Israelite. She was an Israelite in Canada.
Yep, she was an Israelite. She wasn't a Canaanite. She was living in the land of Canaan. All right, and she was also called a Greek, and that word Greek that goes back to the Israelites. It goes, when you do a word search on the word Greek in the New Testament, you'll also come across, for that particular, matter of fact, let me go to this. Let me go to that. Let me put in Greek. Okay, this is the same story. Now she's spoken about in Matthew, Mark, and Matthew. So this is Matthew 7 and 26. Same story. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician, meaning the land of Canaan, by nation, and she besought him that he would cast forth the devil out of her daughter. First of all, this woman right here, let me come. For a certain woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit, heard, let me do this. This is in Mark 7, 24, 20, 25, also in Matthew 15. That's where he was reading at. It's in a different version. He said Matthew 15, 21. Then the Lord went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon, and behold, a woman of Canaan, because that's the land was the land of Canaan, came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord David, my daughter is in grievous effects of the devil. So let's read it from here. For a certain woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit, heard of him and came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by nation, and she sought him that he would cast forth the devil out of her daughter. Now, why would the Lord come down and do miracles for other nations? He did it only for Israel. But Yahweh said unto her, let the children first be filled. What did he mean by the children first being filled? The Jews first being filled. So she was a Israelite, Gentile, let's say, not a natural Gentile like an Edomite or actual Canaanite. She was an actual Israelite that was coming back into the fold. For it is not meat or good to take the children's bread and cast it unto the dogs. And she answered and said, yes, Lord, yet the dogs under the table eat of the children's crumbs. So he was impressed by that and healed her. But she was an actual Israelite. So now let's take the word Greek out. Hellenes or Hellenis. Let's go to the root of the word. Hellene or Helen, a Greek, either by nationality, whether a native of the mainland or of the Greek islands or colonies. And Corinth was a colony of the Greeks. In a wider sense, the name embracing all nations, not Jews, meaning outside of Judah, that made their language, customs, and learning of the Greek their own. This right here is talking about other nations following after Hellen customs, Greek customs of their own. The primary reference is to a difference of religion and worship. So when you go into the history, during the time of the Maccabees, you had a lot of Israelites that were forced to follow the Greek customs. And you had a lot of Israelites that lived in Egypt as well. So now we can come back to this guy, if I can find him. What the hell happened? keep losing this page. Let me find it back again. Bear me for a minute. I'll do it this way.
I understand what's written here, and it's based off what you read. But she came and began to kneel down before him, saying, "Lord, help me." Right. And he replied, "It is not good. You're well in Jesus Christ." Right. So how come our faith in Jesus Christ can also? She was an Israelite. She was an Israelite. She was a Canaanite. So go to Matthew 10:5. Go to Matthew 10:5. Go to the 24th verse where he. Yeah, that's true too. You can go to the 24th verse. That's right.
That'll explain it. Because the apostles went to the Lord and said,
"What are you saying?" I was mentioning God only lost sheep of Israel, right? But she's a Canaanite. Keep reading down.
We're for edification now?
He's still in Matthew 10.
You went to Matthew 10?
No, someone told me to read 24 again.
Yeah, the 24.
The answer, I was commissioned by God. 23. But he did not say a word in answer to her, and his disciples came and asked him repeatedly, "Send her away because she keeps shouting."
No.
No,
So his disciples told the Lord, like, look, get rid of this lady, right? Get rid of her.
No, yeah.
Right? And she cried afterwards, right? So what was his response to them when he said to get rid of this Canaanite woman now?
Yeah.
What was his response to
I was
them?
commissioned by God and sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. So the Canaanite woman's faith made her well. And our faith, you're missing. Listen what he's telling you. Listen.
This is why we told you to slow down a little bit.
Right.
Because you're missing it.
You know, I get it, but this is what based on your doctrine is based off the scripture.
What's our doctrine? What's our doctrine?
See, these Edomites, would appear to be Edomites. They can go ahead and believe what they want to believe, but they lose sleep because they know that there's a group out there, which are the Israelites. And if you notice, they say, well, we're a hate group. No, we're a truth group. We're a prophetic group. We're the Israelites. They didn't say you're a bunch of Edomite white people walking down the street that's not for you. They dealt with them. So all this stuff with the Southern Poverty Law Center and Vocab Malone, like we're hateful people, and that's the only thing that they see. We're teaching. They're explaining this in a cordial manner, in a kind way. They're breaking it down to these guys, but these Edomites are losing. Like I said, these Edomites, the main nation that's losing sleep over this are the Edomites, because when they came over here to this country, when they were in Europe, and when they came back into power, their religion was so-called Christianity, but their form of Christianity. See, it was no problem when we didn't say anything. I'm talking about years back when you had churches up with white images. There's no problem. You couldn't question it. But now they're questioning what we're teaching, which everything that we're doing is being backed up by the scriptures. This place is getting ready to be destroyed, man. I was listening to this one individual, and I sent it to Apostle Limeblob, and I sent it to Elder Malcolm of Chicago. It was a link, and you got to watch it. You got to watch it, man, because this guy goes in. He basically explains what Russia can do. Look, Russia could take out the Ukraine in under an hour. It can take them out without even blowing up one building. Russia, and along with China, and along with those other nations that are allied with Russia. I do know Russia and China, they've been doing tests, and I've been speaking about this. The hypersonic missile system is far superior than anything that America has, and it's so fast that you can't detect it on the radar. That's what the Most High meant through speaking through Peter about he shall come as a thief in the night. That's mentioned a couple of times. He shall come as a thief in the night. In other words, when the missiles are in the atmosphere, you're not gonna pick them up by radar. So this guy, I think, was he talking about the Scud? I don't know if he was talking about the Scud. I believe he was. He said the Scud will not be able to keep up and catch the hypersonic missile system. So you're already done. You're already done. And, you know, according to what he said, Russia's really just having mercy on the Ukraine, but it can take it out. And this war goes back 8 years. All right. So now let me let you listen. Let me get back into this conversation. Listen up. So like I said, man, this is it, man. This is it. Ain't going to be no, our children are going to be prophets and our grandchildren. No, this is that generation. This is that generation. The Lord said, it says, this generation shall not pass until all things be fulfilled. When you go to Matthew 24. What do you mean by that? He meant two time periods, 70 AD and this time period. That generation that was back there are here today. You got 14 generations, then you got 14 generations, then you got 14 generations. What is that? 42 generations. We're that 42nd generation, where all things will be fulfilled. Part of Matthew 24 was fulfilled, the 70 AD part. Now the rest of the fulfillment will take place in our time. In our time, not another 30 years from now, not another 150 years from now. We're in the time of the defeat of it in Daniel 2. We're in that time. That's not gonna linger for another 20, 30, 40 years. We're in that time. And any major empire that lasts as long as about 250 years. So, you know, the US is right at that time. And the Most High gonna cut the time short anyway. So we're in that time. So, you know, Esau is, these Edomites, which appear to be Edomites, they're doing a lot of studying. And when I guarantee you, I don't know if they say it in this video, but I guarantee you they got together, they studied the scriptures, they put the scriptures together, they watched the videos, so they came prepared. Unlike the rest of you Jakes, that the Most High haven't opened up your eyes, you don't know what the hell is going on. You don't know what, and the Most High gonna take you out too, in your ignorance. Esau is checking things out. The scriptures say in Ezekiel 28, thou art wiser than Daniel. Esau does study, he researches, he goes to the Greek, he goes to the Hebrew. So he knows. So basically they're looking for mercy. They're looking for an Israelite group to say, no, you can make it. Yeah, you're right. You can make it. That's what they're looking for. So this guy woke up to the fact that no, that woman was an Israelite. You see now, Sakari say that woman whose daughter was grievously vexed with the devil as an actual woman of another nation. No, they're wrong. They're wrong. So let's listen to a little bit more, and I'll see what I'm going to say.
I'm not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Thus proving that that lady is an Israelite. Right. He reiterated it. Right.
So no,
that was the confusion. And that's supposed to say
his disciples knew her as a Canaanite woman. Right. But he said, whoa, I know who I'm dealing with. Right. I am not sent but unto the Lord. Why do you think I'm talking to her? Why would they add that to confuse us? No, the scriptures can't be a stumbling block. It is a stumbling block for some people. And the Lord came as a stumbling block. The scripture said, let their tongue be made a spirit. And he said that in the beginning, the scriptures be a stumbling block unto you guys. Even with the lady at the well, he said that believe me, the hour.
Yeah, because if it wasn't a stumbling block, you would burn out, you would outlaw the scriptures. You can't just put it in black and white. You can't say that America and the so-called white man, the black Negro man is Israel. You know, they'll outlaw the scriptures. They'll lock you up if they catch you reading the scriptures, man. The scriptures are written in code. That's why you can't see it, because you're not a spiritual man.
Well, you know that your forefathers were worshiping this mountain. He said, for we know we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. So you worship.
Right, and there's some Israelites, correct me if I'm wrong, there's some of you that I believe, Sakari, I'm not sure. You can come on the comment board and correct me. So I could be wrong. But I know some Israelites teach that the woman at the well was an Israelite. She wasn't an Israelite. The woman, the Syrophoenician, the woman was a Greek. And what is that, Mark 7? She was an Israelite. The centurion who had a sick servant, that he healed the Lord healed the servant, that man was an Israelite. Cornelius was an Israelite. The Greeks in Galatians 3, verse 28, the Jews and the Greeks, and then the Greeks are Israelites. Anytime you come across that word, that's a major stumbling block to you Edomites. And then you're looking to get in the back door with the whole Gentile thing. There's only two classifications of Gentiles: the natural Gentiles, which are the other nations, which includes you Edomites, and then the Jakes that didn't know that they were Jakes, like Cornelius. It's not hard. You got to swallow it down, man. You got to drink this cup.
Don't know what you're worshiping, because the Bible is clear in what it's saying. So, first of all, you guys don't need salvation. The Israelites need salvation. Salvation is the children of Israel being delivered from the land of their captivity, from the land of their oppressors. But you wasn't given the law to sin. You wasn't given the law to be a sinner in the first place. The law was given to Moses, given to the 12 tribes.
Very simple. Psalms 147, 19 and 20. He showeth his word unto Jacob his statutes and judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any other nation. So who received the laws? The Israelites. When will you other nations receive the laws? In the kingdom. Isaiah 2, verse 2.
The children of Israel. Even wasn't underneath the law.
When you let you break that law,
The only one that no. It says no. That's all. We find that in the scripture.
Yeah, I got a precept. It does say that the world took on the curse of that, but it's talking about this.
Yeah, the curse that went from generation to generation from Adam did fall on all of us. For example, the woman having labor pains. All nations of women have labor pains. So that's going back to the curse, going back to Adam and Eve. Okay, because Eve is the mother of us all.
Disobedience, sin came into the world by one man. Jesus Christ.
And right, so the sin came into the world by way of Adam, which was Yahweh Shai, and the same man who died too much, but the same man that died for our transgressions is the same one that can redeem us from it.
But don't leave that point, right? Because it's important, because when the Lord, the one the world calls Jesus, comes back to deliver, he is going to redeem sin, and the world is going to live under his rule. The whole world is going to live under his rule. The kingdom of heaven.
And by what manner? Us being over them. We're going to be the #1 nation, and we're going to teach the Gentiles the laws, statutes, and commandments. That includes Eve, the Edomites. You're going to learn. You're going to honor the Sabbath. You're going to honor the high holy days. You're gonna celebrate the tabernacles pursuant to Zechariah 14. You know, you're gonna do everything the Lord says to do, and we're gonna be over you. We're gonna be the overseers over you, and you're gonna be our slaves. And there's several scriptures on that which Vocad don't even want to touch. If Vocad had his way, he'll tear out all of he'll tear out Isaiah 14, he'll tear out Isaiah 60, Isaiah 61, Isaiah 63, Jeremiah 49, Obadiah, Revelation 13, 9 and 10, Revelation 2, verse 25 and 26, just to name a few. Psalms 2, You're going to have to, the scriptures are written and they're going to come to pass. Why are they going to come to pass? Because the Most High said they're going to come to pass.
Even that we talk about is his kingdom. No, not yet. Not yet. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Correct. But we're not the people that is within, they're not ruling. Because it also says in Revelation, the 2nd chapter, that he who keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. So it's not about just this utopia that we're all going to live in. There's going to be a ruling power underneath the one the world called Jesus Christ, and a governing body that needs you. That's right. That's a part of that kingdom. Well, go ahead. Because no, I genuinely like this. I want you to read this. And then you had another scripture. What's your name? What's your name? Danny, and then James. Do you have another scripture after you read this one? Well, I mean, just the way you interpret the Gentiles. We're going to explain that in just a second.
Why is he so concerned about the Gentiles? Because he knows that he's a Gentile. He knows that he's not an Israelite. He came to the realization, these guys got together, they hang out with each other, they study scriptures together and whatever. I guess they're Christians or whatever. And they watch. They're from Boston. I would think that they're from, I don't know, Harvard. They could be college kids, you know, they don't say, unless they say it later in the video, but they've definitely sat down and watched the videos of these men right here up in Boston, GMS, all right? They watch all the videos. And then what they do is, like I said earlier in the video, they get down, they put precepts together, like we never went over that precept. And then they'll come and they'll be ready. They'll rehearse it, you know, rehearse the righteous acts, you know, in the land of drawing water. Anyway, let's listen to a little bit more. And by the way, this thing is going to keep coming up because these people are looking for a way out, or let's say a way in. They're looking to get in this thing. They're looking to get a blessing. Let's listen more. Listen to this a little bit more.
I think this is all talking to Israelite. No, we'll read it. We'll understand. Well, I say if you read it with chapter Romans 10, starting from 18. Okay. But I say, have they not heard? 10 and 1. I can hear you. Yeah. But I say, have they not heard? Question mark. Yes, indeed. Their sound has gone out to all the world, and their words to the ends of the world. But I say, did Israel not know? First, Moses says, I will provoke you to jealousy by those who are not a nation. I'll make you move to anger by a foolish nation. But Isaiah is very bold and says, I was found by those who did not seek me. I was made manifest to those who did not ask for me. But to Israel, he says, all day long I have stretched out my hands to a disobedient.
There's two groups of Israelites. There's Israelites that came, like Apostle Paul was an Israelite, born as an Israelite, circumcised on the 8th day. The same goes for Peter and the rest of the 12. And the disciples that came up under them. Then you have Israelites that didn't know that they were Israelites. Timothy was raised up as an Israelite because his mother and his grandmother, they believed in the Lord and they knew that they were Israelites. The father was an Israelite, but didn't want to accept the fact that he was an Israelite. Perfect example, I keep botching this guy's name, Julius Tiberius Alexander. He got 3 names. When you read about him, he was the general, and I said this before, and even the Apostle Lab and others mention this guy. We mention him all the time. During the time of the siege of 70 AD, this guy was an Israelite, a real Jake, out of Alexandria, Egypt, because you had a large community of Israelites in Egypt. He was raised up, circumcised the 8th day, the whole 9. But guess what? He liked the Romans. He knew he was an Israelite, but he said, I like the Romans, and I'm going to kill for the Romans. Do I need to bring it up? I'm not going to bring it up. Matter of fact, I am going to bring it up. Why not? Tiberius Julius. I'm sorry, Alexander. Let me try it this way. Alex. There we go. Tiberius Julius Alexander. And I believe is this guy, he's the Secretary of Defense under the Biden administration, the big black guy. He was a top general that they put him in that spot, okay? And he's a so-called black man. Tiberius. So I believe strongly that he's back. Tiberius Julius Alexander was an equestrian governor and general in the Roman army, born into a wealthy Jewish family, meaning Israelite family of Alexandria, but abandoned or neglected the Jewish religion. He's literally sold out. He was circumcised on the 8th day. He obviously spoke Hebrew or some Hebrew. You know, he was bar mitzvah, the whole nine. But he fell in love with the power and the grandeur of the Roman military. And you had a lot of Israelites who kept the Sabbath and did, knew that they were Israelites, but they loved the Romans, man. He rose to become the second curator of Judea under Claudius. Now, Claudius long died, so he was moving up in the rankings, okay? There's a book. Let me see if I can get that book. Jews to the service of Caesar. I'm terrible in spelling. Okay, Jews, search and stay. Jews to the service of Caesar. Sons of Israel, here it is. It's an actual book in PDF form. So you want to read it, you go ahead and read it. It says, sons of Israel in Caesar's service, Jewish soldiers, meaning soldiers of Judah, soldiers in the Roman military. So now when you go to Acts, and like I said, we're sounding like a broken record, but we got to keep bringing this back up. When you go to Cornelius, and it said he was a high-ranking man in the Roman military, out of the Italian band. So we used to say, well, that means he was an Edomite. Well, you had Israelites all mingled among, and in very high positions too. And I said this before. We took the line of the Roman emperors, Caesars, rulers were from Julius Caesar all the way up to Domitian Caesar, which is the son of Vespasian and the younger brother Titus. I said this a million times. And after that, you had a Caesar by the name of Nerva. He was a Jake. All the Caesars that came after Nerva, they were all Jakes. Then you had two parts of the Roman Empire, the Western Roman Empire, and you had the Eastern Roman Empire. The Western Roman Empire was controlled by Esau, and it fell. So the only part of the Roman Empire that stayed in power was the Eastern Roman Empire. Then you go into the whole Byzantine Empire. So and see, this is why Esau labeled that time period as the medieval times or the Dark Ages. And they said, well, we didn't have a lot of information. No, you hid the information. You hid the information. So now let me come back over here. Okay, let's come back over here.
It's okay. It's okay. You're skipping over some vital, very important thing, but it's okay. So what are you asking us to explain?
So is he speaking to Israel this whole time? Or is
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. So
So
did it say once?
Oh, by the way, for the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Vocab Malone and these other Christians, where have these brothers, these men call these guys, Edomites and devils and get the hell out of here? We don't got to do. What are they doing? As Paul said, as the scriptures say, come, let us reason together, reasoning out of the scriptures. That's what they're doing. They're reasoning out of the scriptures. But see, this is what Esau likes to do. They like to demonize. Let me look up the word demonize. 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 Let me go down to Merriam-Webster. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, it says demonize. Definition of demonize: to portray someone or something as evil or as worthy of contempt or blame. And vocab is a master at that. If you find somebody, did something, killed somebody or whatever, robbed a bank, and the guy got fringes on, guess what? That was an Israelite. So let's go back to this.
I'm gonna explain it to you, because what happened, I think it's important to note. We talked about it a little bit, but it's important to know about the diaspora. It's important to know that, because.
And Chris, sorry for me cutting in. This is what Christians don't understand. They don't. This is the reason why they say, well, all nations, all nations. They don't understand the history. They don't understand that Israel was scattered. They'll use, he came unto his own and his own did not receive him. Meaning he came to the Israel. No, he didn't come to all the Israelites. He came to, that's a whole nother lesson. The own that he came to were the people that he grew up around. When he opened up the Torah to Isaiah 61. And what did they ultimately do? He said, today this scripture has been fulfilled. What did they ultimately do? They tried to throw him off a mountain. They tried to kill him because he said he was the Messiah. And when he said, I come to heal the brokenhearted, to free the captives, he was talking about Israelites under the oppression of that time of the Roman Empire. From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven, what does it say in Luke 17? The kingdom of heaven is within you. This is what the Lord said to these other Israelites. The kingdom of heaven is within you. So he said, the kingdom of heaven, which are the Israelites, suffered violence, and the violent, which are the Romans, take it by force. That's what he meant by to free the unloose the prisoner, free the prisoner. Then when you go to precepts like Isaiah 11, Deuteronomy 28:64. There's many precepts where it says that we were scattered, and we stayed in those lands, and we picked up their cultures and so forth. So when it says Gentiles, Gentiles, Gentiles in the New Testament receiving salvation, it's obvious it's talking about the Israelites that were outside of Palestine. Let's listen to it. And like I said, you brothers and some of you sisters that have been in this thing for 10 years plus or 5 years plus, and you're into this, you're really into this, you're a teacher and all that, you already know this. I'm singing to the choir. This is for the newer people. This is why this subject, we covered this subject so many times, but it keeps coming back up. And who keeps bringing it up? Not Edomites, not Moabites, not Ishmaelites, not Hamites, but Edomites. Because they watch this. I know these guys watch the videos. And they put this thing together and practice it. So let's listen to a little bit more.
This is why they're being called other nations. These Israelites that got dispersed to all these other lands and other countries and practice other things, they were being known as those nations that they were scattered in. When you go, hold on.
The multitude in Revelation chapter 7, that great multitude of every nation, tongue, kindred, family, and so forth. Those are talking about Israelites, man, that were scattered.
You asked me to explain it. So when you go to Ezekiel, the 5th chapter, it says, can somebody go there? Ezekiel 5:5 real quick.
Well, can I read this for you, brother? Yep. This is the Zondervan Bible Compact Dictionary. Yep. You can read it yourself. It says Hellenists, Jews who may Greek their tongue, right, and with it often adopting Greek ideas and practices.
Right. So when you go to
Perfect example. Let me see if I didn't bear me. Sons of Israel in Caesar's service, Jewish soldiers in the Roman military. Let me come back. Let me come back one more. Tiberius Julius Alexander. Tiberius Julius Alexander was an equestrian governor and general in the Roman Empire, born into a wealthy, this should be Israelite family, not Jewish family, Israelite family of Alexandria, but abandoned or neglected the Jewish religion or the law, statutes, and commandments. He rose to become the second, And it says he died in 70 AD. I wonder what he died of. I don't know if he got killed. You got to read the whole story. But it goes on to say battles, wars, the Roman Parthian War of 58 to 63. That was a long battle. We're talking about, 5 years? Yeah, 5 years. Battle of Delta, Alexandria, and circa 68. Siege of Jerusalem, AD 70. Now I'm going to ask this question. Do this. Death of let me do it this way. Put it in the front. Copy. Do it this way. Who succeeded Tiberius? Which Roman empire destroyed? Who was the Roman emperor? Now I got to click on this because he died in 70 AD. So I want to know if he died in battle. They put in the word death. Death comes up 1 out of 5 times. It doesn't say Let me try the word die. Oh boy, doesn't want to tell me. If he died, they got to tell you. I got to look it up. But he died in 70 AD. That was the height of that siege right there. So that's another lesson. Perfect opportunity for somebody that don't. Well, I don't have a topic to go. You can go. You can do the study on that. You can. So let's come back over here.
To the word Greek, right? In the when you mentioned it, neither Jew nor Greek. I forget what scripture was it you? When you go to that word Greek in the Hebrew, you'll find in Greek you'll find the word Hellen, right? And there's other times when you'll find the word Hellenist, right? And the difference between the two is you had Jews again who knew that they were Jews but practicing Greek customs, and then you had Jews who didn't know, but were fully immersed in the Greek custom, right? Which we have Jews who practice Greek ways of philosophy because they were Hellenists, right? You see, so we're no Israelites.
Like Alexander, I gotta keep saying him, and every time I say the guy's name, Alexander Tiberius Julius Alexander, Tiberius Alexander, what comes in my mind is a picture of that guy. That's the secretary. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me do this. Let me stop playing games and do this. Let me go. Secretary of Defense. United States Secretary of Defense. Let me get a picture. Image. That's him right there. And I strongly believe that this guy right here is Julius Tiberius Alexander. I could be wrong, but I just picture this guy when I think about Alexander. So this is this guy coming back, in my opinion. Everything is reincarnated. What's the dude's name? Secretary of Defense. Okay, his name is Lloyd Austin. Lloyd Austin. He came up into the ranks just like Julius Tiberius Alexander came up in the ranks. So in order for you to understand this, and I said this a bunch of times, still I'm going to keep saying it. In order for you to really understand the scriptures, you have to know the history of that time. Let's listen to a little bit more.
Say it again.
Is that not possible for non-Israelites to be saved?
Oh,
So
no.
you're saying we don't need
No.
salvation?
So let me. Hold on. I'm going to answer you. I wanted to answer him, but I'll stop answering you. Hold on one second. So when you go to the book of Judges, right? You familiar with the book of Judges, right? What was the book of Judges about? What was the pattern in the book of Judges? Do you know? Right, spirit and having to be delivered from a king that ruled over them because of their transgression against the Heavenly Father, correct? And this was a pattern that happened over and over and over again. The whole story of the Bible.
And see, this is the perfect example of how to teach. These would appear to be Edomites and ask them questions concerning the scriptures. We claim to be the authority of the scriptures, right? Eat this roll and go out and teach the sons of Israel. And they're answering any precept that one of the guys would bring up, he would explain it. That's how you teach, okay? everybody should watch this video because this is a perfect example of how you teach. You know, you get your best teaching in when you have somebody come up and dialogue with you. You get your best teaching in, okay? So let's listen to a little bit more.
Can be, in a nutshell, the book of Judges. Because now, just like, name some judges for me. I'm thinking Samson, Ehud, all these judges that came to deliver Israel out of the hands of some
Gideon.
The Lord, the one the world calls Jesus Christ, is a judge like them to deliver the children of Israel out of the hand of their enemies. It's the same pattern. It's the same pattern over and over. The difference is this salvation is perpetual in that it's not going to happen again the way it happened in Judges over and over and over again, where they were good for a moment while the judge was alive. That judge died, and then slowly they kind of veered off into other things, right? And then they had another judge sent to them, and then they were delivered again. It's not going to happen that way because this judge is going to be perpetual. He won't die. He's always going to be on the right hand of the Heavenly Father. So now to go back to what James was talking about, we have to explain what Gentiles are. We have to, because it says other nations. It said I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are not a people. To understand that, you have to understand what the prophecy said. You have to, because Ezekiel, did you get Ezekiel 5 and 5?
I have it for you. I can get it for you right here.
Read Ezekiel 5 and 5 for me.
Ezekiel 5 and 5.
Yep.
Thus said the Lord power. You see Jerusalem.
Yep.
I have set it in the midst of the nation.
This is Jerusalem. I have set it in the midst of the nations. Right. So that means that the Jews, right, the Israelites, would be set amongst other nations. Everybody's leaving? Are you listening? Okay, go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Feelings are hurt. No, it's okay. It's okay. I don't think his feelings are hurt.
I have set it in the midst of the nations and countries that are round about her.
Yep. I have set it in the midst of the nations and countries that are round about her. Somebody go to Hosea the 2nd chapter. Somebody go into Hosea the 2nd chapter. Or is it Hosea? Where it says, hold on one second, man. Because don't let's not touch on the feel good things. We're reading the scripture. We'll talk about the feel good things in a second. Yes. Yes. Did I say 2?
Yeah, 2. Yeah.
1. Give me 1.
Hosea 1 verse 1.
Yep.
And he says,
start at 3. Start at the 3rd verse.
Hosea 1 and 3 says, he says, so he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Gilead, which conceived and bare him a son.
You guys familiar with this prophecy? It's Hosea. You want to listen? You want to listen? This is Hosea. This is important. When he the prophecy buried the harlot. Yes. Why is that significant?
Yeah, and he did lay with a harlot, and the Lord told him to go and get you a harlot, meaning pay her to have sex, and they had children together. Now, ISUPK, this is why we say GMS that we have 100% truth. ISUPK said, oh, that's not the case, that didn't happen. I forget how they explain it, but he actually went and got a woman out there that he paid for, and back in those days, and I would say even today, you had a man that wanted a woman, and the woman would live in your household for 30 days, cook for you, guide the house, clean the house, give you sex, and you would pay her. And then you had times where they stayed together. They had children. And so Hosea had children, okay? And like I said, the Most High set this thing up. Just like, give you another example, Samson had a thing for Palestinian women because the Most High put the spirit, if somebody wants to put up the precept, you can put it up in there. The Most High put the spirit on Samson to have feelings for these women. For what reason? To pick a fight. Let's listen to a little bit more.
Because that was us. The harlot was us.
The harlot was the nation of Israel, not us. The harlot was the nation of Israel specifically. He'll say it to you. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
It says, he gone to 8 9.
No. Read from where you are.
It says, verse 4.
Yeah.
And the Lord said unto him, call his name Jezreel.
Yep.
For yet a little while, I will avenge the blood of Jezreel
Yep.
upon the house of Jehu.
Yep.
And I'll call to see the kingdom of the house of Israel.
All right. So he's talking about Israel specifically. And he's going to say in there, if you go, when you go, matter of fact, real quick, go to 2:1 real quick. Go to 2:1. Go to 2:1.
Hosea 2:1. Say ye unto your brethren,
Yep.
of mine, and to your sister,
Me.
me, right?
Yep. Lo ami. Yep.
And to your sister,
La ruama.
Lo are me, not my people. Lo are me, or la'a I'm Yah, not my people. And Christians don't know that. The average Christian, they don't know Hebrew. They don't know maps. If you went to a biblical map or a world map and say, show me where the Fertile Crescent is, show me where the wilderness of Zin is, show me where the land of Edom is, because Esau is mentioned in the Bible. Show me where Antioch is, or Corinth. They wouldn't know. They have no idea, because they're not trained to understand these scriptures.
Ruhama,
Yep.
leave with your mother, leave, for she's not my wife,
Right.
neither am I her husband.
Right.
Let her therefore put away her husband out of her sight.
Right. So the nation of Israel was a whore. The nation of Israel acted as a whore and started worshiping other gods. Right. Several. The brother Zion mentioned it. There's been several diasporas. There's been several times where the nation of Israel went into these other nations and started behaving themselves like the other nations. So when you go to the scripture that you read, when it says, "I will provoke you to jealousy by those that are not a people," there was a dichotomy between the children of Israel that stayed in the land and the children of Israel that were again practicing like these other nations. That's why it says that they were no longer. Somebody go to Ephesians 2:11. I got it. Ephesians 2:11.
Ephesians 2 verse 11.
Right.
And it reads, wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles.
Danny over here.
No, Zion got it. Zion got it. Ye being in times past
Gentiles in the flesh, who are called
they
uncircumcision.
were being called the uncircumcision by them which are called the circumcision. Well, so that's the dichotomy. You had one people, right, who stayed in the land, kept the laws, and said, no, this is for us. They can't come back. And that's they were being called uncircumcised, but they were still Israelites by descendancy, but they were practicing like of the other nations. Somebody keep reading this. Somebody get Acts the 2nd chapter. Yep. Yeah, he can ask the question in a minute. You guys gotta be patient. I'm answering one question. It's long-winded, I know. Which question? Yours. Because you read a scripture that talked about other nations. Right. So this is what we're explaining right now. If you don't have the patience for it, then you don't have the patience for it. But again, like you said, we're not jackasses. We live this thing. If you don't have time, then move on. But we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna go the long way so you can understand it.
And I'm gonna close on this. There may or may not be a part 2 to it, but there's a very good video, because it dealt with a very, very basic, super basic subject to us, but it goes over the head of these people that really don't understand the scriptures. And you can see that these guys that appear to be Edomites, some of them might be Jake, you can see that they studied it and put the precepts together and watched the videos and said, okay, we're ready. We're going to go down and confront these guys. All right. Anyway, you can watch the rest of the video. This is after Camp Edification, GMS Boston, and this was put up by Remnant Say 144. And I believe this will link you. Let's see.
You don't understand it, and this is why we're having a problem with certain.
Okay, so yeah, this is the actual link. After Camp Edification, GMS like a great millstone 3. So that's all you need to know. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom. Wait a minute.